Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 8 of Konosuba Season 2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, Darkness is now tied up and in the path of those, critters. I guess you'd call them like raptors or something like that. And, the situation is rather dire. But at least she's got an open mind about it, She's optimistic if nothing else. Oh man, no good deed goes unpunished, truly. Not even these creatures want to ram into her. And I guess Darkness, in her infinite wisdom, is taking this in stride. After all, it's kind of like being teased deliberately. So I have to imagine that if the critters don't want to hit Darkness and they don't really seem to care about the caravan, then, what's the real problem here? The stampede will eventually pass. Especially since it seems like the only reason why they came this way was because of Darkness and her armor, more to the point. I guess these other adventurers are sort of competent enough to kind of deal with the threat. Not perfectly for sure, but better than nothing. Alright, well I guess that's that then, It wasn't just a one and done thing, they really are after something. And I guess, at least Kazuma has an idea, and I suspect I know what the idea is. Lure all the critters into one sort of location and have Megumin blow them up. Oh. That's shameless even for Darkness, just tie me to the back of the wagon and drag me. Wow. She's definitely going to be getting off on that. How absolutely shameless. Wow. That was a rather sudden acceleration, Surely she's going to learn that this isn't all it's cracked up to be. I would hope. But, you never know with her. Man, Darkness is down bad when being treated like luggage is a novel experience. And what's worse is everybody thinks this is Kazuma's idea. For once, he is not to blame for this, This is purely self-gratification on Darkness's part. And you know what? It's nice of Wiz to finally kick in a little bit. We do know she's a lich, and therefore she has to be a powerful magic user. But, we don't really see any of that. And sure, summoning a swamp and all that, that's that's probably no mean feat, but it's not big flashy magic like we're used to from Mega Man. So I guess the question is, you know, obviously they're going to blow up these creatures with Mega Man, but how are they going to get darkness to a safe sort of distance? I guess it is kind of nice to see everyone use their skills and all that. Okay, so Kazuma's clearly come to some realization about why they're called running hawk kites, but I'm not sure why that is. I mean, the running part makes sense, and I know kite is a type of bird, as is hawk for that matter, but was it just like that sort of like shrieking noise they made? Wow. You know, for somebody who's struggling to pick up darkness, that was a rather impressive feat of strength to hurl her like that. And considering she just landed on her head, you know, that's a real good way to snap your neck like Kazuma had done. I mean, not that I imagine he cares too much about darkness, her being made of tougher stuff than just about anybody, but surely it's not a good idea. I mean, even just from a pragmatic perspective. Now, it's nice that Kazuma and company are being treated as heroes, but it's kind of, I don't know. Like, I feel like Kazuma's being too hard on himself, because yeah, he knows darkness was not strictly at fault, but the cause of this to begin with, but like, you don't have to be down on yourself, you know? How are you to know that these critters would attack because of darkness? And, you know, he is right in a sense that it is their fault, but they also solved the problem. I feel like, karmactically, you're at least on neutral territory now, you know? You know, this is one of those things where he's really just trying to humble himself, but, you know, it just comes off as him being an even bigger hero than he had been before. Alright, so that's something. You know, Kazuma mentioned he had acquired a smithing skill, but that he's actually able to repair armor. You know, that's no mean thing, especially since he seems to be just using a hammer and a file. It is also kind of remarkable how seemingly useful Nature's Bounty is, despite being ostensibly a useless party trick. Although maybe it's more to do with the wielder than the skill itself. So it seems like the journey's not going to be so simple as just one encounter before they get to the hot springs. It seems like something else is going on. And I guess if nothing else, he's going to be kind of stuck with darkness for the time being just because she's awake. You know, maybe it's for the best that Mega Man doesn't wake up to deal with whatever's going on in the middle of the night, just because her normal method of dealing with threats would likely not go over too well with anyone else who wants to sleep. Now this seems bad, because, you know, like a bunch of slow-moving humanoids. Seems like zombies, and certainly looks like zombies. Those are no good, but I guess if nothing else, Aqua can handle them no problem. Although thinking about it, maybe Aqua's the cause of the problem. They're all attracted to her. So I guess this begs the question, what are they going to encounter next, and what draws them to Megumin? You know, I can only imagine that maybe it's like Yunyun and she causes a problem or something. That would be... That'd be kind of funny, I guess, because I do like Yunyun. I feel bad for her. Whoops. Man, Aqua's committing friendly fire again. I feel like something like that shouldn't necessarily be able to kill Wiz, or, you know, harm her significantly, but this is Aqua we're talking about, and generally speaking, the dumbest possible outcome is the most likely in regards to her. And so, I guess it's nice she managed to handle the zombies, but at the same time, this has the added effect of making Kazuma feel more guilty and causing their whole collective reputation to snowball undeservedly. You know, I think for once, Kazuma's just beating himself up over it a little too much. You know. I mean, I feel like it is unreasonable to assume stuff like this would happen, so getting all worked up over it, you know, that's kind of unreasonable, you know. Normally, I would expect Kazuma to be unreasonable in that he gives himself the benefit of the doubt too much, but he almost seems to be, I guess, being more harsh on himself than he probably really deserves. So presumably this is the place. You know, they're going through a nice tunnel through the mountain over an aqueduct. Wow. This is a rather scenic place with all sorts of hot springs. Arkanretia. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue as a name, but you know what? I think I can forgive that for how nice it looks. You know, that is an interesting point now that I think about it. Kazuma noticing elves and dwarves, and thinking about it, I think this is the first time we've ever really seen any of those. I mean, I don't think we've really seen any fantasy races, at least not the quote-unquote good races. You know, your elves, your dwarves, stuff like that. We've really only seen monsters. So it seems like, by all accounts, that this place is really, truly a very beautiful place, almost beyond comparison. So I can't help but wonder, you know, when's the other shoe going to drop? What's the downside? Okay, so that's interesting. The Axis Church is based here. And judging by Kazuma's reaction, that's not a good thing. So, yeah, that's a couple pieces of the puzzle fitting together. So it seems like these are Axis cultists, and they are dead set on proselytizing their religion. Yeah, you know, no doubt, nobody's really interested in any of this, except maybe Aqua. And she's only interested in hopes that people will sort of give her some modicum of the worship she feels she deserves. Although that said, I feel like if she were to claim to be Aqua, the water goddess and all that, they'd probably burn her for a heretic. You know, it's, I get the feeling it's rather blasphemous to declare yourself the deity they worship, or one of them. You know, that didn't really happen, but it was sort of similar in, I think it was the very first episode, that Axis cult priest who worshipped Eris, he sort of like told Aqua to, knock it off, stop pretending to be a goddess. Oh, wow. Okay, so that wasn't a dream or anything. Like, Wiz was like literally on the verge of dying, I guess. Yeah, that's rather disheartening. I mean, I guess Aqua very nearly killed her. Or unkilled her. Re-killed her, perhaps. Now, Kazuma, if you have to say, I hope Aqua isn't causing a new problem. It's almost a certainty that she has. And in fact, to give voice to a thought like that, I feel like that's really just tempting fate. So this isn't good. Kazuma's going around with darkness. I feel like she's gonna cause a problem. Now, I'm wondering, was that meant to be a statue of Aqua? Because I guess, yeah, there's a bit of artistic license involved. Ooh. Tread carefully, Kazuma. Tread carefully. I'm almost reminded of Jehovah's Witnesses, like coming around knocking on the door saying, hey, have you heard the good news? Like she wants to repay this kindness by saying, like, hey, join the church. But it's rather a blatant attempt to sort of coerce a conversion. Poor Kazuma. I mean, fundamentally, the guy just wants to be left alone. Okay, so these people don't like Eris here. I mean, maybe I'm mistaken, but I was given to understand that Eris and Aqua were sort of part of the same pantheon. But it seems like that's not the case. Maybe it was the name Axis that just sort of made me assume it was a group. I mean, maybe this is something of Aqua's pettiness rubbing off onto her worshippers, that they sort of feel a disdain towards Eris. But if just sort of like openly spitting on the street is the sort of thing you get for mentioning your faith, it's probably a good idea to keep it on the down low. Wow, so they're really laying it on thick. I shudder to think about the type of person that would actually fall for a sham like this. At least, Kazuma has the good sense not to get involved. Surely, this would cause only trouble if you actually acknowledge what they're doing. It's borderline insane how, in an attempt to force a conversion, they kind of like drop the act, where the guy who is supposedly an Eris cultist and, would be predator, like he just like, he's like, oh, come on, if you sign up, you'll get all sorts of benefits. As if them signing up isn't totally against his supposed interests. I guess the worst part is that everybody they meet on the street is trying to proselytize to them. Man, and they're using all sorts of scams. Like, help me, I'm a woman who's in danger, or you help me pick up my apples, or you're the millionth customer, or I'm your old childhood friend, don't you recognize me? Like, this is borderline depravity. Just, I couldn't imagine dealing with this for even a day. You know, I think by like attempt number 3, I'd probably be losing my temper. Well, maybe not losing my temper, not like shouting at him, but I probably would be kind of rude. Kel Surprise, Darkness is fantasizing about being burned at the stake as a heretic. It never ends with her. So what's the connotation behind that? She gave him a bone in a bowl, as if for a dog. Is that because she knows Darkness worships Eris? So that's rather subtle, honestly. The lack of spitting is kind of what keyed me into the subtlety of it. Oh, Kazuma, don't be too sure, dude. Just because you're helping this little girl who tripped doesn't mean she's not gonna hand you one of those flyers. And you know what? I feel like because he's saying like, oh man, this person's normal. You know, sometimes foreshadowing is, subtle. Oh, man. Hey, how do you write your name? Could you demonstrate it for me on this form? You know what? That's the right course of action. Just tear up the flyer in front of her very face. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.